Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalaakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. In this session, we'll be discussing from the 36th verse of the 8th chapter of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, continuing the prayers by Queen Kunti. Shrinvanti gayanti grinantya bhikshnashaha smaranti nandanti tavehitam janaha tayeva pashyanti achirena tavakam bhavapravaho paramam padambujam. The meaning of this verse is, O Krishna, those who continuously hear, chant and repeat your transcendental activities or take pleasure in others doing so, certainly see your lotus feet, which alone can stop the repetition of birth and death. So Kunti Devi is explaining how one can end this repetition of birth and death. Of course, most people do not know that the real fundamental problem of material existence is this repetition of birth and death. It's called samsara or bhava. So this accepting this material body while we are actually not got anything to do with matter, we are pure spirit, and we have our spiritual body, we have our spiritual home, the abode of Krishna, Krishna Loka. But foolishly we give up that spiritual home and we desire independent enjoyment. We desire to lord over material nature, and therefore we are forced to take this material body, which is called birth, and we cannot remain in this material body permanently. We have to quit this material body by force. That's called death. And after death, if we still have desire for lording over, or we have desire for material enjoyment, independent enjoyment, then we have to continue to accept another body, and that's another birth. So jatasya hi dhruvo mrityu dhruvam janma mritasya cha. Krishna explains this in the Bhagavad Gita. For one who has taken his birth in this material world, death is certain. And after death, if one is not liberated at the time of death, then one has to take birth again, cannot avoid. So Kunti Devi is now telling who can actually stop this repetition of birth and death. Those who continuously hear, chant and repeat the transcendental activities of Krishna, or even if they don't do it, they simply take pleasure in somebody else who is doing that. Such persons are able to have darshan of Krishna's lotus feet, by which they are very easily able to conquer this material existence. They are able to stop the repetition of birth and death. So, Srila Prabhupada explains the purport. The Supreme Lord Sri Krishna cannot be seen by our present conditional vision, this eyes with which we normally see so many material things. It works under certain conditions. So, this conditional vision is not suitable for seeing the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. In order to see him, one has to change his present vision by developing a different condition of life, which is full of spontaneous love of Godhead. Spontaneous love of Godhead. Not forced to do some devotional service. Spontaneously, one renders service to Krishna very enthusiastically, lovingly, very nicely. When Sri Krishna was present personally on the face of the globe, not everyone could see him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When Krishna incarnates, everybody can see him, but they don't recognize him, they don't understand here is the Supreme Personality of God. They think he is another ordinary person. Materialists like Ravana, Hiranyakashipu, Kamsa, Jarasandha and Shishupala were highly qualified personalities by acquisition of material assets, but they were unable to appreciate the presence of the Lord. So, somebody is materially qualified, that is not enough to recognize the Supreme Lord when he is incarnated or when he is personally present before our vision. Therefore, even though the Lord may be present before our eyes, it is not possible to see him unless we have the necessary vision. Sometimes people ask, can you show me God? Now, even if God were to appear in front of you, the question you should ask yourself before you ask the question, can you show me God? Can I recognize God if God comes in front of me? This necessary qualification is developed by the process of devotional service only, beginning with hearing about the Lord from the right sources. The Bhagavad Gita is one of the popular literatures which are generally heard, chanted, repeated, etc. by the people in general. But in spite of such hearing, etc., sometimes it is experienced that the performer of such devotional service does not see the Lord face to face. The reason is that the first item, Shravana, is very important. If hearing is from the right sources, it acts very quickly. Generally, people hear from unauthorized persons. Such unauthorized persons may be very learned by academic qualifications, but because they do not follow the principles of devotional service, hearing from them becomes a sheer waste of time. Hearing from unauthorized persons will not result in any spiritual advancement. Sometimes the texts are interpreted fashionably to suit their own purpose. Therefore, first one should select a competent and bona fide speaker and then hear from him. When the hearing process is perfect and complete, the other processes become automatically perfect in their own way. After hearing comes chanting and then remembering, etc. There are different transcendental activities of the Lord, and each and every one of them is competent to bestow the desired result, provided the hearing process is perfect. In the Bhagavatam, the activities of the Lord begin from his dealings with the Pandavas. That's the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. There are many other pastimes of the Lord in connection with his dealings with the asuras and others. And in the 10th canto, the sublime dealings with his conjugal associates, the gopis, as well as his married wives at Dwaraka are mentioned. Since the Lord is absolute, there is no difference in the transcendental nature of each and every dealing of the Lord. Whether the description in the first canto is about the Lord's dealings with the Pandavas, or in some other canto about the Lord's dealings with some other asuras, or it is the dealing of the Lord with his most beloved devotees, the gopis, or his beloved queens at Dwaraka, all are transcendental. All are transcendental. But sometimes people in an unauthorized hearing process take more interest in hearing about his dealings with the gopis. Such an inclination indicates the lusty feelings of the hearer. So, a bona fide speaker of the dealings of the Lord never indulges in such hearings. One must hear about the Lord from the very beginning, as in the Srimad Bhagavatam or any other scripture. And that will help the hearer attain perfection by progressive development. One should not therefore consider that his dealings, that means Krishna's dealings with the Pandavas, are less important than his dealings with the gopis. We must always remember that the Lord is always transcendental to any mundane attachment. Krishna doesn't have any material attachment at all. In all the above mentioned dealings of the Lord, he is the hero in all circumstances, and hearing about him or about his devotees or combatants is conducive to spiritual life. It is said that the Vedas and Puranas, etc., are all made to revive our lost relation with him. Hearing of all these scriptures is essential. It's absolutely essential. In the previous verses, Kunti Devi has explained that those who have come to this material world are working very hard like asses and have such a hard burden that they cannot bear it. Because their lusty desires have created heavy work that puts them always in trouble, Krishna comes to introduce the system by which one can get relief from this continuously troublesome life. Material life means troublesome, heavy work. That's the essence of material life. Now, as regards what is religion? Religion consists of the laws of God. People who do not know this think that religion means faith. But although you may have faith in something and I may have faith in something, and although I may believe you and you may or may not believe me, that is not religion. There is even a supposedly religious mission that says, you can manufacture your own way. Yato mat tato pat. Whatever you think is right, that is right. This is their philosophy, wrong philosophy, bogus philosophy. But that is not science. Supposing I am a madman, is it all right to think whatever I think is correct? Is it all right to think like that? How could this be? 2 plus 2 equals 4 is science. If I believe that 2 plus 2 equals 5 or 3, does it become true? No, never. So, there are laws of God, and when there is dharmasya glani, deviation from these laws, we suffer. So Krishna comes to correct these mistakes, and he shows us the way of devotional service. And if we follow that, very easily we can cross over this most difficult material existence. I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.